Hello everyone, my name is the Deuteron Doctor, and today we are going to be talking about how to play Blaster in Splatoon 3. Now, I've had very limited experience with blasters in Splatoon up until this game, where I have actually done pretty good on the blaster end of the spectrum, but I would like to go over how to play the blaster. The first tip I can give you is what gear to use. You're going to want at least 3 mains of intensify action, maybe even more than that, considering the fact that without it, you get a lot of random chance to deal with. You still get a fair bit of random spread on your blaster shots when you're jumping. Blasters have a different balancing for intensify action than other weapons. Other than that, you're going to have to work on aim. You're going to have to work on timing your shots, because moving opponents, you're going to have to aim in front of them, and you have to aim where they're going instead of where they are when they're moving, because if you aim where they're moving, by the time the blaster shot gets there, you aren't going to hit them. There's some aiming techniques you could do. Really, all I would say that you have to use is the moving ones. Other than that, I would say Ink Saver main is a good ability to use for blaster. Now onto the kit for the blaster. I would use the auto bomb for poking purposes, and I would use obviously Big Bubbler. How you use Big Bubbler is you go into the enemy's base, not fully, don't surround yourself with them, but push into their base a tiny bit, and then what you do from there on out is you prop it open and you attack people. You try to gather more turf. It's basically forcing yourself in and creating a safe space around you so that your teammates can better push behind the enemy's defenses. Other than that, I don't really think there's much more to say for me. I'm a guy who barely knows how to play blaster, so I'm gonna leave it up to my friend Nate. He plays some blaster and he plays it a lot better than I do, and he's gonna tell you some tips and tricks about blaster.
Hello, I'm going to tell you some tips and tricks that I've had while playing Blaster and how to help win your next fight. That sounded like a POV YouTuber. Oh my god, I'm not good at this whole speaking thing. Alright, we can just cut this whole thing out. The first thing you want to do is, while you're in a match and in a heated situation, you want to always be moving. Even though your shots may be less accurate, it is very important that you move all of the time to avoid getting shot. And another thing you want to avoid is getting extremely close to the person that you're trying to kill, unless you're using a weapon like the Luna Blaster. Another thing that you want to look out for is particularly short-range weapons, considering some blasters have the range benefit, like Range Blaster or the regular blaster are pretty good, but the main thing you want to avoid is like an ink brush or an arrow spray that's coming at you. You want to get the distance on them, right? The splash damage is most definitely your best friend, and it really does wonders to have a 2-shot kill from a long distance. Now, it may seem like a cheap weapon at first, but if you're good at it, it will most definitely serve you well. Something else you should keep in mind while playing Blaster is that the aiming situation is way more important than people realize. Like, you can get in the general vicinity of someone and get the splash damage, but it's not as forgiving as you'd like to believe. You have to get in the general vicinity. Of someone, but you can't just take it for granted. A note I'd like to add, I play Ink Brush very similarly to how I play the blasters. My main weapon is the Ink Brush, but if I play the Ink Brush the same as the blasters, then it should be taken into account that it is a very offensive weapon. Not very good for painting, but it is very good for securing kills and pushing enemy lines. So if you are behind enemy lines, it can draw attention away from your teammates who are painting the middle of the map. It will greatly help you win if you have teammates painting the middle of the map. What I usually do is I usually play very offensively and draw attention away from people who need to secure objectives. I usually get a bunch of kills in the enemy territory. I see myself as very expendable and more of an infantry type of weapon The goal is not to. The main objective should not be surviving, although surviving does help. The main goal, I'd like to say, is killing and going on offensive. Some other things I do include holding points. Like if you're playing something like Splat Zones, it would be very beneficial for someone like me to hold a point down and shoot from a distance. Although Luna Blaster plays pretty different. I cut out all the parts that talk about Luna Blaster. The blasters have some pretty generous range if you can take advantage of that. Personally, I like to sit at a distance and shoot at people, take pot shots, because the range on blaster is really something insane, right? The splash damage is an entirely different thing, but you can easily shoot into an area to, I feel like, max right now. The last thing I'd like to add that I like to do with the blaster is I make sure to. The last thing I'd like to add about the blaster is that it is not only very good at killing, but it's also another thing I'd like to add about the blaster is that it's not only good for killing, but also good for scaring away opponents. People usually tend to run away from me if I have a blaster, although if it is like a normal game like Turf War, people like to run towards you a lot. So you should fire at the earliest opportunity to keep them away from you. The closer they get, the worse your aim will get, because if they're right up on your business, you won't have a very clear shot, because to the left and to the right, because focusing on a smaller target on your screen is quite hard.
Alright, that was some tips and tricks from Nate, and he's now going to have to edit this. I feel bad for him. He just had to talk for like 20 minutes, and yeah, now he's going to have to edit it anyways. I'm the Deuteron Doctor, and I will see you later. Bye.